Happy Saturday, guys. What's up? Welcome into another episode of the Daily Juice Podcast with me, Matt Perrault, at Sports Talk Matt, to follow me on socials. This podcast being brought to you by OmahaSteaks.com. Omaha Steaks, half-off sale going on site-wide right now. Promo code JUICE in that search bar will save you $30 off at checkout. Use the code JUICE to save $30, 100% money-back guarantee. Great gift idea. Send it to someone you love, your coworker, a boss. At OmahaSteaks.com, promo code JUICE in the search bar at checkout. Minimum purchase may be required. Okay, so another 1-1 night over on Indiana. We did not get the over on the Sixers because Philly destroyed. They destroyed the Pistons, who have now lost 22 consecutive games. They did not even get to 100 points, so that 235 was dead, but the over 257.5 mattered because we played a good number. It fell 260. More on the Pacers here in just 1 second. Okay, before I give you the picks today, I have got 2 NFL picks and I have 1 NBA pick. I will give you a UFC lean if you want to have something in action. I'll give you a hockey play as well that you can jump in on if you would like to do so. But first and foremost, I got to tell you about the Bull Pick'em contest going on right now at BettingPros. To enter this Bull Pick'em, you got to do it before these games kick today. Enter at bettingpros.com/bull. That is the website, bettingpros.com/bull. Because us here with the Juice and Betting Pros, we have linked up with Splash Sports. This is a straight up Pick'em contest. All you got to do is enter before the time the game kicks off on December the 16th, and your picks get them in each game before they start. The cost to enter is only $25, and the top 25% of the contest will be paid out. The prize pool is determined by how many people do sign up, so get in there today. I am believed, I think this is right, multiple entries are allowed for this. More details and to enter the contest, go to bettingpros.com/bull. That's bettingpros.com/bull. Okay, I've already given you the under here for the LA Bowl. Speaking of bowls, under 48.5. I still like that bet. That bet is good to go here for Saturday. Okay, to the NFL. Let's start with the Vikings and the Bengals. We have Nick Mullins going in for the Vikings in relief of Josh Dobbs, and we've got a Cincinnati Bengals team being quarterbacked by Jake Browning, who played really well last week, scored 34 points, big win over the Colts at home. This is the second consecutive home game for the Bengals. This is the second consecutive road game for the Vikings, which is almost always a bet against for me, okay? I almost always bet against them, but I can't do it. Nick Mullins, the quarterback change causes me to be a little concerned here. The total is 40.5. I'm going to play the under. The Vikings are currently 5-2 to the under on the road this season. Their last 3 have gone under, and really dating back to the 24th of September, every game has gone under except 2. It was Atlanta and New Orleans. Both those games went over, but every other game has gone under. Last week, 40.5, 3-0 against Vegas. Time before that, 43.5 against Chicago. 12-10. We were on the under in that game. Denver up against Minnesota was 43 at Mile High. Came in under 21-20. We were on the under in that game. Going to come back here, even though the Bengals have hit over 4 of the last 5 games. I just don't think we're getting the 34-31. I just don't think we're going to see their second to last home game was against Pittsburgh. 36 was the total. It landed at 26, so that was 10 points under. I think that's the type of game we're going to see here between the Vikings and the Bengals. I do lean towards the Bengals -3, but I'll play the under officially. Under 40.5, Minnesota and Cincinnati. Bet number 3 on the day, Detroit hosting Denver. 3rd consecutive road game for the Broncos. They covered against the Chargers, did not cover against Houston. They lost the game as 3-point dogs. They lost by 5. Pick in the end zone caused that game to go to an L. Chargers last week, they killed them, as we saw why with what the Raiders did on Thursday. Win by 17 points as 3-point dogs. How impressive was that win? I don't know. To be frank, I don't know. The Lions have got to get going. All right? They're 8-5 against the spread so far this year. 3-3 ATS at home. 2-3-1 for the Broncos on the road, but they've played better of late, obviously last week. But that third straight road game seems to be a really big hiccup. That's a real big problem for me to get around here. I like the Lions. I'm going to lay the 4.5 points at home. Detroit with the home crowd behind them. Tough matchup for Denver here, who was and still kind of is in the hunt here for a playoff berth. Think Detroit gets healthy here. Detroit minus 4.5. I do lean towards the over in this game. I will have a personal bet on the over 47.5, but I haven't been great with totals lately, so I think I'd rather just lay the 4.5. Favorite in the over, kind of a correlated. You can do a same game teaser if you want, but I need this number to get to 5.5 before I do that. So it's not there yet. It's 4.5. If it climbs to 5.5, I very well might same game tease it down to Detroit and take the total down to 42.5 and go over. But for now, officially, Lions minus 4.5 for 1.1 units. One additional play officially for you guys, and we go to the NBA. This is a game that you might go, wow, Matt, weird bet. Indiana at Minnesota. Okay, this is a night game. The Timberwolves are currently at home 7-4 to the under. Now, we know what Indiana is. 9-2-1 to the over on the road, 16-3-1 against the Eastern Conference, 18-5-1 overall. But this is a cross-conference matchup, and the Vikings have gone, the Timberwolves have gone under against Dallas in their last game. Now, 2 previous games were overs. Then under at home against the Spurs, under at home against Utah, under at home against Oklahoma City, over against Sacramento, but under against Philadelphia. On the other side, Indiana the books are looking for a number. 260 was the number. It closed and pushed. In the last game, we had 257. I just don't think we're going to see the T-Wolves want to play as up-tempo as Indiana wanted to, and Indiana's on a back-to-back. So who is in, who is out? They lost last night. Didn't look good at all. I mean, really a weird game against Washington. Only scored 123 points. It was 137-123 to Washington. That's not great. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of points here. I mean, we'll see points, maybe like 110, 120 here, but I'm going to go under 245.5. Under in an Indiana game. You heard me right. Under 245.5 for Minnesota and Indiana on a back-to-back. The T-Wolves are at home. I think defense will rule here, and I don't think we go over 245.5 for Minnesota and Indiana. Okay, so 4 official plays going here for today. Under 48.5 in the LA Bowl. Under 40.5 for the Vikings and the Bengals. Lions minus 4.5 at home in the last game for them against the Broncos. And then under 245.5 for Indiana and Minnesota. Those are your official plays for us here on Saturday. If I add anything, Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat. Now, for the UFC card that's going to take place coming up here tonight, and it's going to be an awesome card. I'm not going to it. I didn't want to. I could have gone if I wanted to. I decided to pass and just watch all the football and watch all of the fights at home. Edwards against Covington. That is your headliner fight for UFC 296 here in Las Vegas. I'm going to go with this. Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett. Now, this is an opportunity for Paddy the Baddy, as they call himself, to put a pretty big name on his resume. Tony Ferguson's been a disaster over his last 6 fights. Paddy Pimblett has won his last 4 fights, 4-0 in the UFC. But, I mean, he's beating guys that, Jordan Levitt, Jared Gordon. This is Tony Ferguson we're talking about here. It's a whole different level of competition we're talking about, but it is a Ferguson fight. Tony Ferguson has lost 6 consecutive fights. It's unbelievable. But you talk about losing. Justin Gaethje knocked him out. Charles Oliveira, decision. Beneil Dariush, decision. Michael Chandler, head kick, 2nd round. That's the fastest he's been finished in his last 6 fights. Nate Diaz, round 4, submitted guillotine choke. Nate Diaz. Bobby Green, 3rd round, almost through the entire fight. Close to being done with that fight. Tapped out with an arm triangle. Total in that fight for Tony Ferguson and Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett, 2.5 rounds is even money. I think this fight goes to the cards. I know Paddy could submit Tony, but it's Tony Ferguson. I don't see Tony getting submitted here in a 3-round fight. I think this goes to the cards. I'm going to go with the over, but I think you have a chance to jump in here and potentially have, some decent shots here that's going to the cards. Even money, total rounds over 2.5 rounds, Ferguson and Pimblett, even money. And then you combine that with Shakov Romanov, who up against Wonderboy Thompson, who I love, but this is not a good matchup for Wonderboy. I mean, Shavkat is unbelievable. He's 17-0. He's beaten everybody. He's run through everybody. He's destroyed everybody in the UFC. Alex Oliveira, Charleston Harris, Neil Magny, Jeff Neal. Step up in competition here for Wonderboy. But Wonderboy is a karate fighter and not a great matchup. He did knock out Kevin Holland. Muhammad knocked him out. Last 2 fights before that. No, really. Last 4 fights before that. All were on the cards. 1-2 and lost 2. I think Shavkat gets a knockout or a submission or some finish here. He is a minus 625 favorite. You combine that with over 2.5 rounds, and you get a plus 132 parlay. If you want to add a leg, Leon Edwards to beat Colby Covington, that gets it to a plus 275 parlay. But I'm way more nervous about Colby. I think Colby could out-wrestle Leon for 5 rounds, make it a very boring fight, and then he wins the fight on the cards. So I'm not going to make that. I don't think you should do that. I think you probably should just do it with the 2-leg and leave the main event out of that. And just skate Shavkat up against Moneyline, minus 670, 625, and over 2.5 rounds, Ferguson and Paddy. It's a pretty good parlay, plus 136 if you want it. And then we go to the NHL. Nashville's back in action. Nashville up against the Washington Capitals. Over first period, 1.5 goals. It hit the last game. I didn't bet it because, well, that's just how things go. Nashville won against Carolina 6-5 in overtime. First period over hit in that game. Back-to-back. Chance for some sloppy goaltending here potentially. Washington and Nashville over 1.5 goals for minus 135 if you want extra. Those are not official. Okay? 4 official plays. LA Bull under 48.5. We're going under 40.5, Cincinnati and the Vikings. Lions minus 4.5 in their game against the Broncos, and under 245.5 for Indiana and Minnesota in the NBA. Those are our 4 official plays for us here on Saturday. Do what you want with it. Fade or follow. Let's have a good Saturday. My name is Matt Perrault. Follow me across all socials at Sports Talk Matt every morning. The Daily Juice Podcast, always being brought to you by OmahaSteaks.com.